Welcome to How to Run Profitable Retreats podcast, the podcast that guides you not to only host retreats that thrive financially, but also transform people's lives. I'm your host, Leni Cavazos, and each week I bring you the best strategies and personal insights to help you create retreat experiences that transform lives, both your clients and your own. In our journey together, we'll dive into the secrets behind successful retreats, from crafting a unique atmosphere to mastering the logistics that ensure profitability. Whether you're tuning in for inspiring interviews with leading retreat experts or seeking actionable advice in our solo episodes, this podcast is your go-to resource for turning your retreat visions into reality. Don't miss out on any of our episodes and subscribe now. For more tools and a free guide on creating your own six-figure retreat business, visit theretreatplanner.com. Now let's get started and make your retreat dreams come true. Hello, welcome to another episode of How to Run Profitable Retreats. I'm your host, Leni Cavazos, and I'm so excited to introduce you today to Amy Vaughan. I hope I pronounce it properly. So Amy is a rebel with a cause, and she's a former agency creative director turned entrepreneur. She's an experienced and enthusiastic business leader, tech founder, creative marketer, speaker, facilitator, and podcast host, and dynamic guest known for her fearless leadership as Together Digital's owner and chief empowerment officer. And I'm so excited to have her today because we're going to be talking about reinventing retreats on a digital space. And one of her biggest things that is actually about how networking and collaboration is so important. And she has a book coming up and an app coming up about it. So definitely make sure you follow her, you check her out because she knows what she's talking about. So I am so excited to have you here, Amy. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yes. So let's just talk a little bit about first, like networking, because I think
Mhm.
this is something that people in the business would get so busy that we tend to forget about it.
Yes.
And I believe it's so important for your business to thrive.
Absolutely. Yes, I wholeheartedly agree. Hence, I'm, like you said, writing a book and creating an app because I believe that there is a bit of a networking gap when it comes to a lot of us that maybe own a business that is more service-based or women in general. And the fact of the matter is that it's not about what you know in any industry. It's about who you know and kind of earning and creating a reputation through meaningful connections can really help you move your business forward, whatever that business is. I mean, in the realm of retreats, if you think about it, referrals are huge. So if you are kind of staying in a tight, close circle and you're not spending time getting out and connecting with others and new people, making yourself seen and heard, and getting that reputation for others knowing and trusting you, those referrals are going to start to dry up over time. So it's such an important aspect of actually doing business. But I think because a lot of us look at it as sales or we were more introverted versus extroverted, we like small groups versus big groups, folks tend to shy away from it. But it's really detrimental to yourself and to your business. And when I say yourself, what I mean by that is that we are human and we need connection, and connection is a form of self-care. So you're kind of getting a dual benefit by going out and networking. You're getting the opportunity to, like I said, build your brand, grow your reputation, get those referrals, get those new clients, and then also getting that human connection time that we are so craving because we all feel isolated right now. I know perceived isolation is like right up there at the top of the list now as like another almost endemic thing where it's like worse than smoking. It's like worse than sitting all day. It's kind of taken that new priority. And so you really should not wait until you need new clients or you need new work before you start to network.
Yeah, and I think this is so important for people who are entrepreneurs, but also even if you're in the corporate world, right? Like really the connections and the people that you get to know make a
Hmm.
huge difference when it comes to landing that job or getting that new client.
Yep,
It's about the who, not the how, right? So like I love
absolutely.
Dr. Benjamin Hardy because of that, because he
Mm,
really brought a lot of light into this space. And I truly believe that is one of the biggest things that it's so necessary for businesses in the future,
hmm.
especially with AI coming in the game.
Yep, absolutely.
Because, like, okay, now there's even apps that like will make your face and use
Hmm.
your voice and record the videos. And I'm like, I don't think so. Like I'm like, I still want to show up me, uh,
Yeah.
regardless of like the whole amazing technology that is there. But
Hmm.
AI will never be able to trump connections and
No.
true, honest
Hmm.
meet someone else, may it be in person or may it be
Right.
online, right? So this is a key differentiator that I see coming up very strongly from 2024 now to 2025. Like if we really
Yeah.
talk about trends. Like,
Yeah, we talk a lot about AI in our community, because it is so pervasive right now. But I think the thing that folks need to understand is that AI has the opportunity to do the work that is meant for the robots. So they can be the robots, not us, and we can go out and be more human. To what your point was just now, it's like make more human connections, do more human things, breathe life and creativity into the experiences that you're working to create, because you're right, AI will never be able to replace that.
and at the end of the day, people notice, right? Like I was reading some research actually an hour ago that said that 50% of the people cannot tell if an email is written by AI or by a person. Because it
Interesting.
gets trained beautiful, right? It's
Sure.
amazing. Like I like it. Like I'm
Hmm.
not against AI. Like I use it in my business. It
Yeah.
helps streamline many processes. It helps me be faster, right? Take action faster. So like something that usually would take me maybe a week before, because let's say I had to do some like writing an email, then I would need to get inspired and then go and take a step back and then go reread it and then go edit it and then do proofing and everything else. Now I can write the email and then AI will go and like proof it for me and be like, oh, I suggest you change this and all this kind
Hmm.
of things. And it's still me, right? I am
Yes.
writing it, but it's taking like 5 steps out of my place so I can do it so much faster.
Mhm.
But you could see it in a place like, oh, I'm saving myself, let's say 5 hours, then I'm gonna go watch Netflix for 5 more hours.
Right. Right. Yeah. Use it efficiently, wisely. Like you said, keep the human in the loop, as we call it in like the AI and marketing industry, to make sure that what's being written, crafted, and created is actually accurate and true, because you have things like, AI is a combination of all sorts of input. And, when everyone, if you're using what's called an LLM, large language model, that is open AI, essentially. Anything you read that says open AI means that anybody and everybody's putting something into it. That means what it spits out is as much garbage as what's getting put in. So I do recommend for our business owners who are listening, consider going through a paid service. Typically, none of them are more than $20 a month, if that. And that way, you're kind of working in with a more limited model. You're going to get out better input, or you're going to get better output. Things are going to be more accurate. Plus, also, you'll have the ability to create certain AI kind of, people call them different things, bots, agents. Um, I have somebody else calling them something else. I'm just thinking about, like, it's escaping me, our upcoming masterclass on this. But basically, specific bots to do specific roles and things. And again, I think AI has the ability to be a really great democratizer for small businesses, because again, we're not going to have to try to be all the things and do all the things. But then, as I was saying before, I think it's so important that then you really do take that extra time, like you said, instead of going to Netflix, focusing on how can I make the work that I'm doing more human, and take those things that, again, that can be automated, that can be made more efficient, that don't need the human aspect, let those be. Like, let that become more efficient.
Yeah, I love this. And something that came up to mind now that we're thinking all about like networking and how really like, we have amazing tools nowadays to do work, right? Like, no more door-to-door sales, right? You can do
Yeah.
online.
Or cold calls. Those were the worst.
I still get cold calls. Oh my gosh, from
Oh, I feel bad
like
for those people.
credit cards. I'm like, I don't want another credit card. I'm good. Thank you.
Well, and who answers their phone anymore if they don't know the number? I think that's the other thing too. Like, at least this generation, I feel like we're just constantly call screening,
Yeah.
because we've got caller ID, we've got voicemail, and we don't like talking on the phone anyways half the time. So yeah, it's definitely a lost art. I'm kind of glad for that, because I did do that for a hot minute, and it was the bane of my existence. I
Yeah,
dreaded
and I
it.
think when we're thinking about like, cold calling and all these pieces, also like something that comes to mind from we're talking about networking. I've met a lot of people who have told me, you know what, sometimes I feel unnatural when I'm showing
Mm.
when I'm
Yeah.
trying to pitch myself, but without pitching myself. But I want to make a sale. So I don't want to just make it about how good the coffee is or what the weather is all about. So I want to make sure that I have a message, but also it feels more like connection rather than like
Yes.
cold selling in
Hmm.
front of a group. That it can happens a lot
Hmm.
inside of groups. Like I have an example, like I have another company, it's called We Summit, and it's all about creating summits, right? Because I'm all about events, right?
Yeah.
So events that create transformation, and summits, online summits are absolutely super powerful. And I
Hmm.
remember one day I made the mistake to just mention that because in one of the calls, some of the speakers, potential speakers, actually got clients on the call. So I was like, oh yeah, like, like it's all about connections and meeting new people because your next client could be here. Oh my
Yes.
biggest mistake ever, because the
Oh.
whole talk about the summit became about people just putting their information. I do this. Who wants my services? And
Ah.
then we lost
Yeah.
the attention, and
Yep.
then just so cold. I was
Hmm.
like, no, 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 no. This is not the way we like connect with other humans. It's
Yes.
not about just dropping my Instagram, follow me here. This is what I offer. Who wants it?
Hmm.
But who I am, why am I here? Why, like, what's my mission, right? Like,
Yes.
I want to create.
Hmm.
And then what's my story? And then from it, there like other people saying, oh my gosh, I'm 5 steps behind this person, and that's where I want to go.
Yeah.
So this is
Hmm.
the right person,
Yeah.
right? It's about authentic connections.
It
So
is.
like that was like that. Like I was like, I'm never doing that again.
Right.
Definitely, it just
I
opened
think
up the Pandora box. But
setting up that tone, right? In the very beginning, I think that's what's unique about our Together Digital community is that, we have a member code of conduct and we ask people to show up authentically and we practice radical acceptance and we have a no solicitation policy because, we're all here to learn and grow from one another. And at the end of the day, if you manage to land clients and win work, which we do, I had one member tell me that she literally got a 750% return on her membership from the connections and the work that she was able to get with new clients from other members that collaborated with her. But as you were saying, I think, people need to get it out of their head. And I think I started to say this earlier too, that networking is not selling. Networking is kind of like dating before you build that professional, trusted relationship. And I think if people start to see it that way, they might start to feel a little better about it. And then I would also say, outside of it not being selling, it is a two-way street. So don't ever just go in to network to sell or to get a job. You have to think about more than just your goal walking into the room. You have to look in that room and say, how can I help these people today? How can I find the person that needs me in this room? And then find that way to kind of bring them along. And I think that really helped me too. I went through a speaking a cohort for a couple of days. And, I know people are like, oh, public speaking or speaking in front of others. I hate it. Part of what helped me get through it was when one of the teachers got up and said, you need to remember that whenever you're doing a talk or podcast or a speech, it's not about you. It's not about you at all. It's about the experience that you're trying to create and the people that are sitting in the chairs ready to receive that experience, that knowledge. So it's not even about you. And that just made me feel really like a lot better because I don't want to be the center of attention. I don't want to be the one in the spotlight. And so I kind of just flipped it in my mind to think I'm just here to help create an experience, to inspire, to inform, and to help them. So it's not even about me. I don't need to be perfect. I don't have to do it all exactly right. All I need to do is have them walk away feeling like they have the ability to do something they didn't when they first sat down. And that whole mindset to me, especially if you have a product, service, or brand that you truly do believe in, it doesn't feel like sales anymore. You're just really looking out for others that need you. And you're like, hey, I'm here. No pressure. When you need me, I'm here, So yeah, it's a
yeah,
mindset. It's a mindset for sure.
yeah, I have to say, most of the people who sign up with me, they're always like, you know what? Like, you never pressured me to sign up.
Hmm.
You were
Yeah.
just having a conversation with me.
Hmm.
You told me if I was ready, if I was not, what
Yeah.
needed to happen before I could join. And you were just like honest. And a lot of
Yeah.
people come back months later and they're like, now I'm ready.
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
well, now you're welcome, right? Like you can come face. Because what's the point of me pushing someone to buy something from me when they're not ready?
Hmm.
It's doing a disservice for them,
Yep.
right? It's doing a disservice for me because I'm going to have to work 10 times harder to get them there.
Yeah.
You'll find a lot more resistance for sure. And they're not going to get the results that they're looking.
No.
And if you're in the business, yes, of transformation where you love your work, integrity is key. And I think
Absolutely.
integrity in every business is key. But
Yes.
but it's really, really important to honor that integrity because sometimes we get into this space of like, I need to sell because if not, I need to go back to my 9 to 5 job.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
it's intense, and then go into fear mode, right? And then we
Right.
get into a room and we're like, so me. This is what I do. This is what I do. Who needs me? That.
Yes.
And then instead of being like, okay, so who am I? How can I help someone?
Make it about them.
Maybe with one phrase,
Hmm.
right? Or a whole course, and it's
Yeah.
okay. So I want to invite everyone in the audience who's listening to this episode. Ask yourself, how do you show up when you go into a networking event? Like, may it be digital or may it be in person?
Hmm.
Like, how do you introduce yourself? How do you feel? Like, the first 7 seconds when someone sees you, they already create an impression. How is your body language? Like, really go deep into this, like, kind of remember, like, the last one that you were. Were you the first person that raised their hands up? Or were you just like shying behind in the corner and hoping, oh my gosh, I hope they don't point out at me, right? Like, how does it feel in your body? Do you feel it in your stomach, in your heart? Do you have some jitters? Like, how are your shoulders? Do you feel tension? Like, really, what's going on when you show up to create more connections with other people? And then, how do you introduce yourselves? What is it like? Do you have something that you want to share? Is there a way? Have you practiced it? Does it feel cold and prepared? Does it feel natural? Like, really take this moment as an opportunity. And even if you have to pause the podcast right now and just go do this exercise, I think it's so important for you to review your past actions and see what would you change if you were that person who shows up confidently into networking events, who shows up from a place of service. How would you walk? How would you feel? How would you look? What you would you wear?
Hmm.
Right. And really like make an effort and make a plan that next time when you're showing up for a networking event, you're going to do that, right? Make it your goal. And it's going to
Hmm.
make such a huge difference.
Yeah. And I think too, I have some research from the book that I've been working on about closing the networking gap for women, although it really does touch upon many of things that for folks who are in the LGBTQIA community that are introverted versus like, feeling like they have to be extroverted. And you're so right. I think there's so much about networking that we get inside of our own heads, and it makes it hard for us to show up authentically. And, again, as humans, we read so much more than just what we hear. It's also what we see, right? And so when somebody walks into a room and they are super anxious about being there and they're super forced in like what they say, it's like they've tried to memorize their pitch. I think we've just all been given some really crap advice in the past on networking. So one of the books that I refer to a lot in my book is, I mean, it's from 1939, so yeah, it's a little antiquated, but it's had a number of new additions added to it, and it's the how to win friends or influence people, how to influence people and
Hmm.
win friends. Because you can win people. People are a prize to be won. No, that's not the case. And I have some other sightings where I talk about articles that, encourage you to walk into the room and really only look for the important people. And it's about if you move into one circle and you get the sense that there's nobody important enough there, move on quickly. So it's like disqualify your leads. And I'm like, that is just the crummiest one. That's just being a crummy human and kind of disrespectful in my eyes. And two, I would say that some of the most meaningful and effective connections I have made have been with the more unassuming folks in the room. In fact, one of my favorite strategies for those of you who go into a networking room and feel overwhelmed by the sheer size of it, I like to go and look for the wallflowers and strike up a conversation with them. And it's usually more on like a relational type of comment, right? I might see like a really cool, like a gal with like some nice earrings or a really beautifully colored sweater, or maybe the weather's really crummy and getting there was hell, I will walk up to that person and make a relatable personal comment versus like, hey, and like put my hand out to shake it and say, I'm Amy Vaughan. Like, let's talk about my business because like nobody wants that, right? So come in at a very kind of human level, casual, comfortable, and you would be surprised where the conversations might lead you. And yeah, I mean, I would not be sitting here owning and running a business if it wasn't for networking. I had been an agency creative director for 15 years, working crazy hours, traveling all the time. And I was invited to join this community as a member first. So I was a member before I was the owner. And really felt like, okay, I need to get outside of the four walls of my company. And I quickly fell in love with the community and the ability to run and lead a board and local events. And I had always wanted to kind of champion women. And I tried to do so within my workplace at an ERG, and it was just really difficult. But once I got outside of my own walls and started getting more comfortable, it was incredible to see it wasn't just about building my reputation and people knowing me for this group. It actually became, like I said earlier, my form of self-care as a working mom of two kids, trying to balance ambition, motherhood, and caretaking for an aging parent. I mean, how amazing is it to be in a community or space where you get to meet like-minded folks who are either a half step ahead of you or maybe a half step behind you, where you can always be looking ahead for help and advice or always going back and giving that guidance after you've had those experiences. It's such an invaluable thing that I think once you kind of realize the benefits of networking in this way and more authentically, it fills you up. It doesn't deplete you. You don't walk away from networking events being like, oh, I hate that. I just don't want to people for the next 5 days because I have left events feeling that way. I'll be
Yeah.
honest. But never at any of our retreats or our events, virtual or in person, have I ever really felt that. And I think it's because, again, creating that culture of it is normal to show up as you. It is okay to talk about the things in life that are happening, work and personal, because you are one whole person and we want to talk to you and address you as one. So, I was given the opportunity to kind of close out the story to say, okay, Amy, how did you get from a member to an owner of a business like this? The founder kind of like, took me under her wing and was really encouraging while I was running our local Cincinnati chapter. And I had shared with her I wanted to run a business. And I had a boss that was like, no, creatives can't run companies. And I
Oh,
just was so mad. And I had told her this, but the founder was really impressed with a lot of the systems I'd put in place and operations within my local chapter, that she was like encouraging me and begging me to train all the other chapters. So then when it came time, she got tapped on the shoulder by someone within her network to run for Congress, something she
wow.
never would have considered doing. Then she turned and tapped me on the shoulder to say, hey, while I run for Congress, you come over here and run this business. That's the beauty of networking, is that people that trust you and know you will give you the opportunities that you didn't even see coming or know that you could have. And so it's like, I just can't champion the idea of it enough. And you're just really depriving yourself by not getting out there and doing that work of networking first to build those really meaningful professional relationships that are actually not just going to change your life, but your career.
I love this. I just got goosebumps all over. I'm like, yeah,
No.
because it feels like magic, right? Like I
hmm
remember when I started like my retreat business, I was like thinking, oh, I really want to work with Dr. Joe Dispenza.
hmm
And like 3 weeks later, one of my clients came and she said, like, will you run a retreat with Joe Dispenza with me?
Wow.
And I'm like, yes. I never thought, you know what I mean? Like my
Yeah.
degrees of separation between him were like smaller than I considered because I thought they were like miles away.
Yeah.
Right. So it is like networking is so important. And that way, when you come up like really from a place, but like a very natural place,
hmm
people can really see, oh, this person is authentic, she's real,
Yeah.
she knows her stuff. Like it's so much more natural,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
But something that I think it's also important, like I know, like, you were talking about, not going for the wildflowers and like, not like, going for the big fish, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I'm just remembering a book from Malcolm Gladwell where he talks about things like this, and it's quite
hmm
interesting. But anyway, I won't go there right now. like, I'm like, yes. And I think it's so important also to know that, like, to know yourself when you're in a networking event, also, and figure out if you're hiding at some
Mhm.
point. If you end up
Yes,
spending 5 hours with this person who, like, let's say you run a
sure.
business, like, let's say you have, like, you have virtual retreats, right? So, and then
Mhm.
we're going to start talking about virtual retreats a little bit more for everyone who's interesting about not just running retreats in person, that I think is so, so, so powerful. Um, but like, let's say you're running virtual retreats and this person is, I don't know, a dog owner that just wants to be a dog owner.
Right.
Okay, like she has no interest in going into a retreat. She has, like, and let's say this virtual retreat is about building your business, right? So your business is quite specific in a way, so it has a niche, and then you end up spending 6 or 7 hours with this person talking about her.
Right. Yeah.
Are you hiding from actually showing up?
Yep. Yeah, it's a fantastic point. You got to get out of your comfort zone. I like to warm up when I come to events. I will find sort of my wallflowers just to get myself warmed up and to get other people that don't feel included feeling included and seen.
Mhm.
But yes, I agree with you. I think between that and then the clicks, right? If you go to a networking event with a friend, I mean, I do like to take a wing woman with me when I'm going to an event. And there's not many people that I know. However, I do make it a point to, force myself away from my comfort zone and get into a space and talking to people that I might not know. And I think that's where that little tip or trick of like saddling up alongside someone, even if it's somebody that we all perceive as is so important. They are human too. And if you lean in to make that human connection, because in my past, agency work, I worked with a lot of celebrities, and sometimes it was daunting and annoying to them to have people come and grovel and act just kind of obnoxious because of who they were, quote
Mhm.
unquote, using air quotes. They
Yeah.
really preferred it more if you kind of just showed up and talked to them like any other person. And I mean, not being like rude or anything, but just show up and be human and conversational and not like a nervous Nelly. And they're just like, oh, okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for just treating me like a normal person. Now, if they insist on being called sir, madam, and want you to like come up, salute them, then maybe they're not the best person to be connecting with anyways. But I
Yeah,
agree with
exactly. Like,
you.
do you really want them in your network?
Uh-huh.
You know what
Yep.
I
You
mean?
want to find your champions. You want to find your champions for sure. And you don't want to find, your butt kissers that are just kind of schmoozing in there for the wrong reasons as well. I think that's been another thing for me that I have just found really important is that, quality over quantity as well. I think being intentional, doing your research before you go to an event. So for me, we were just talking about this before we hopped on. I have two podcasts now, and I'm on a lot of podcasts, but for those two podcasts, we're always looking for speaking guests. So if I'm at a bigger like marketing industry event, I typically go and I might apply to speak or moderate and be a speaker. But honestly, like I like moderating better because then I get extra time with the speakers and I land so many new podcast guests that way. So be strategic about the kinds of events you're going to. Know what you're going in and to accomplish. Like you said, set your goal and go in with that goal in mind. And then do your research on who's going to be there so that I'll always be like, okay, these are 5 people that I'm not allowed to leave this room until I have made some sort of introduction to them. And like I said, the more naturally that you can just do that versus like forcing yourself. I think sometimes when we do set goals, it feels a little more forced even when we don't want to. It's just a great way. Or asking for an introduction from somebody else in the room to that person is also another great way to kind of get that awkward, just approaching somebody cold. If you have a wing person there with you, or you've been talking to somebody else in the room and they're like, oh, I know that speaker, like she's amazing. I'll be like, fantastic. I would love it if you would go up with me and make an introduction, because then it just feels again warmer and more personal versus just walking up awkwardly and being like, I think you're so cool. Let me give me my business card. Be on my podcast,
Right.
and
Yeah,
follow up.
I love it. And I also, like, something I think it's important for with networking is follow up.
Yes. Yep. I was
Because you
going to
can
say
make
that
all these
next.
connections and then
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
they disappear.
That is, I think, mistake outside of going out and networking solely for your singular purpose, like job, client, whatever. That's mistake numero uno. And then the second one is absolutely not following up. And you would be amazed at how many people don't do it. And it's like, you can't, why did you just waste your time? Why did you go out and take time away from life, family, work, whatever it was, and then showed up and then did the work, but then didn't do the follow-up? It is absolutely key. And that's again, within the book, I'm creating a lot of structures to help people sort of break up and make up with networking, get more in touch with their authentic self so they feel like they can show up in a way that feels true and authentic to them, giving them loads of tools and tips and strategies to kind of almost like parenting advice, take it or leave it, because some things work for some and some don't work for others. And
Mm.
then from there, really kind of being more intentional about how you're networking. And then also again, that follow-up is like you said, is so key. Otherwise, it's all for naught. But between that and then I think the app as well, that is where we're looking to kind of do what we were discussing earlier, where you're bringing in things like automation and AI to make that process that much easier for you. Because, as speaking to women in particular, a lot of my data is centered around that because that's the community we serve. We don't network as much because typically we're not encouraged to because
Mm.
we don't like to sell to others. We don't like others think it's not right for us to be selling. Again, networking is not selling. It's okay. And then also time. Our time is much different. 75%, I think, of household chores are still done by women. An inordinate amount of child rearing is still done predominantly by women in heterosexual households. So, from a time standpoint, we can't go out into the golf course and spend, all day Saturday shooting 18 holes and having drinks after and dinner after, right? We don't have those kinds of luxuries in time and sometimes in money as well, because all of those things are also expensive and we're still looking at a pay gap. So, yeah, for all those reasons, networking can be a challenge. And I'm excited to dig in this next year, especially and continue to develop the book and the app to really help solve and close that gap.
I think this is so important. And I know we haven't really spoken about virtual retreats, but this is like so good for like everyone who's listening. So I'm hoping you're staying because really like there's no point in having retreats made virtual or in person if you do not have a network where you can refer your
Hmm.
retreats to.
Yep.
Like hands down,
Yeah.
most of the retreats that sell is because of people who know you. Like,
Hmm.
and if you're being very honest with yourself, when you choose to go to a retreat, and let's talk about a specific retreat, right? Not a yoga retreat, because yoga retreats, there's so many out there that you have
Right.
so many options and you can choose based, yes, on the teacher and whatnot, sometimes on their Instagram, and sometimes it will be on like platforms like book yoga retreats and whatnot. But if you really think about it, like, and you're going to a retreat where you want to heal trauma or you want to go through like couples therapy or something very, very specific, you're not just going to choose any random person who shows up on the internet.
Right. Yeah.
Like you might, but it's very unlikely.
Rookie mistake.
Yeah, you might, and they're probably going to research you tons and ask you all
Hmm.
the questions and all these kind of things. Wouldn't it be easier if then you establish your brand, you establish your business, people start to know you for this, and then yes, you will have people who just come up because everyone else is raving about your retreats
Absolutely. Hmm.
or your courses. It doesn't
Yeah.
really, but really like people getting to trust you. Like, for example, that's why podcasting is absolutely amazing because people get to really see, does this person really know about her stuff? Or she's just like until the next cool thing comes, right?
Yep.
So I think this is very, very important. And something came up that I wanted to ask you. So from what you said about like networking, that I think that was very, very important. So okay, so now let's actually like if you don't mind sharing like a quick tip on like people who are listening, like what is the best way that you find for people to follow up? Like because
Mhm.
I do follow up sometimes on email, sometimes on LinkedIn, but it like I prefer WhatsApp. Like I'm more like I do more like
Mhm.
keep conversations going with people on WhatsApp,
Yep.
uh, just because it's more natural to me. But
Hmm.
is there one way that you feel is usually the best way to keep a connection?
Yeah. Ask them. Ask them their preferred channel for follow up to initiate more conversations because that is the fact of the matter is again, if you keep putting, and I say this about business and networking, put it's about them, it's about their experience. So you want to show up where they are. So some people are constantly on LinkedIn and some professionals are never on LinkedIn. Some people only answer emails in their inbox. Some people are really terrible at their keeping their inbox and just want an Instagram or a WhatsApp message because every person's a little bit different across the spectrum in the professional world. I've always found it best to say, I give my information to them, I get theirs as well, and then I say, I'm going to follow up with you. What is your preferred method of me following up? Is it a text? Because some people I've even had that, which kind of is like throwing me off sometimes because it's like again, we're so protective about our phones and who calls, but they'll be like, I would love it if you would just text me because all of my other channels are so bogged down, I will never see it. And I want to make sure that I get seen in the preferred place. So honestly, I leave it up to them, especially if I'm the one initiating contact and I want something out of that first interaction. I want to make sure I'm catering to their needs because they're ultimately going to give me hopefully what I need, which is a lead, new business opportunity, sponsorship, partnership, new membership. So yeah, to me, it's really about what they want and need versus me.
I think this is absolutely great advice. And something is something I tell people to do, but then I forget. You know what I mean? Is one
Uh-huh.
of these things that you need a reminder for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm so excited about like networking. I'm actually going to a leadership retreat that it's well, there's talks and whatnot, but really one of the main points and one of the main reasons I signed up is because it's so heavy on networking. And it's a
That's
large
great.
retreat, right? It's like over 80 people coming. So it's
Yeah.
not like you're 8 people, it's like bigger
Yeah.
group, like networking parties, like call
Mm-hmm.
it networking palooza. And
Fun.
exactly. And I'm like, I've been on their online events and I'm like, yes, they're good. And then I was like, okay. And then I got the email for the retreat and I'm like, sign me up, right?
Yeah.
I already knew them and someone
Mm.
referred them to like I took something from someone else and then it was like a whole chain of events happening towards this. And I think it's so important to come prepared. And I'm coming with my business partner for the summits company. And we know
Nice.
that we're going to be together, but at the same time, we need to spread out. Like
Yes.
we cannot just like stay
Right.
together. Like we
Mm-hmm.
already know each other for 4 years, right? Like
Exactly.
we know our strengths and our whatnot. And I'm an extrovert, but she's an introvert, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll manage to find different ways, and I'll be able to like help her through, and then she'll be able to help me through in different
Right.
situations. And I think that's super powerful as
Yeah.
well. As long
Mm-hmm.
as you're not hiding with like if you go to
Right.
networking with your best friend and then like because I've done this, right?
Yeah.
And you're in the corner,
Yeah.
you're sipping your drink, and you're like,
Right. Just catching up, being social. Well,
should
this
we
is
just
how
go?
this is
Let's
how
go
we
grab some
break,
dinner. Like I've said this.
right? Let's get out of here. No, I totally feel that. I even as somebody who does all of this professionally, I am still that person too that will have a night where it's like I'm not on my game and I'm done. And I think that's important too. Like, and I discussed that in the book as well, is really kind of looking at your energy and what it takes to network and being intentional about that as well. So like I do recommend things like don't take a ton of meetings on the night that you have a networking event. Like minimize the amount of socializing that you're doing so that your social battery is fully charged when you get to the event, or if you're going to a conference or you're going to a retreat. But I was going to say too, at our Together digital events, when we're in person for things like our national conference, we kind of break up the cliques by peer groups. So we create beforehand, everyone fills out a little bit of information about where she is on her life and her career, and then we put them into intentional groups that don't put anybody with like from the same company in the same group. So they all get broken up. And what this does is it really creates a nice little safety net, an opportunity for deep connection for those who come alone, know nobody else in the room. They're going to get placed into a peer group of 5 to 10 women who are at a similar life and career stage as them. And they're going to do what we call our ask and give exchange, which we modeled earlier in the day for them. And it's just the most beautiful part of the day. One, because it gives me time, as usually the MC, to just sit down and like just watch the connections happen. Because when I'm putting these peer groups together, because of the world of virtual now, I do all like almost all of our members do one-on-one onboardings with me virtually. I get to know all these amazing people, but they don't always necessarily know each other. So when we come together from all across the country for like 1 or 2 days, it's so fun to see like like I made that connection happen. I put those five ladies in a table together and they're all so badass and I cannot wait for them to just get in and realize like how awesome and powerful they are collectively. And I mean, by the end, really, we only did this for like an hour and a half. And I always do it over lunch because I cannot break up the groups. They just keep going and going and going. I'm like, we have to get back to the content, you know? But they do like they'll stand in a group and take a picture together. They're exchanging phone numbers and LinkedIn's and emails, in just a span of like an hour, hour and a half of sitting together with who were at the start perfect strangers. They are having such meaningful conversations. And so if you can ever look to create and facilitate that kind of connection on those smaller, more intimate levels at a bigger event, I highly recommend it. It has really proven to be one, a unique differentiator for us as an organization, and two, it just achieves our mission of creating more transformative relationships versus transactional.
I love this. This is such like it's so intentional. Like you can
Mhm.
really feel like how people are, you're not just meeting someone who's like a random person, like, and then they know
Mhm.
that there's thought, love, energy, time put
Mhm.
behind this. So they're more open to actually connecting and getting to know each other,
Yeah,
right? Oh my
absolutely.
gosh. So I know we didn't speak really about virtual retreats, but that's okay. I am sure everyone in the audience like is like saying, "Oh my gosh, yes, so good you didn't talk about virtual retreats. To bring Amy another time. Let's talk about virtual retreats another day."
Absolutely.
Because networking is so important and
Hmm.
it's really a key differentiator, like for everything in your business. Like the
Hmm.
reality is nowadays, what we're seeing in the trends for coaches, and this is for
Yeah.
everyone listening, is that people want personalized experiences.
Yes. Hmm.
They might want a hybrid where there's some pre-recorded, but they want to meet the person in person. They want to like live, right? May it be on
Yep.
Zoom or in a retreat. The format is really not like I always say, the container is not really that important.
Yeah.
Like it's not about the container, it's about the transformation. And
Hmm.
people want these personalized experiences, these
Yeah.
boutique places where like people can come and get to know each other and they feel supported, they feel seen, rather than being in a course like, yes, live calls with 500 people. But it's
Yes.
very hard to actually really connect with the speaker
Yep.
or with the other people being
Hmm.
on the program, right?
Yep.
Like my courses are always like up to 8 people,
Hmm.
and it's because of that.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
come out hosting podcasts together, and it's a
Yep.
retreat program. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
They come
I
out
love it.
planning retreats together. They
Hmm.
support each other in like through thick and thin, right?
Yeah.
Emotional support. There's so many things happening because they really get to connect and to see like,
Yes.
oh, I am not alone in
Hmm.
this journey, and we can
Absolutely.
walk together.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, very similar within our organization. We have had women who have, just to touch on virtual for a second. I have two members, one in Denver and one in Columbus, who or Cleveland, who are no, oh, sorry, actually so many now, but like the two that I want to go to are Florida and Orlando and Denver. And one does website development and management. And a really trusted client came to her and was like, "We want you to do our branding next." And then she's like, "That is not me, but I know someone." So she went to our member Sarah in Orlando. They have never sat in the same room together. And I interviewed them on a LinkedIn Live a while back. And it was just so beautiful to hear and see like the trust, the admiration, the collaboration, like how well they worked together. They ended up winning this client and then won a couple other clients together pitching and then started winning awards with the site work that they were doing. And they have never physically yet been in the same room, which is just so wild to think that, like, it's just so cool to know that, like, we have this technology and these tools in place to, again, not replace the opportunity to be together in person and have human connection, but it really just makes it all that more accessible because none of that would have been possible without our Slack community, without Zoom, without our virtual events. So you really can create transformative experiences even while virtual. Um, I've been sitting here doing it for the last 5 years. I started running the business in November of 2019. COVID hit March 2020, so not even 4 months into my job, and I had to crack this nut. I had to figure out how to really make what we had been doing, which was creating magic with these events in person, and transcend that into virtual events. So, yeah, I'm excited to come back and talk more about how we've done that because I'm happy to share with those who are interested.
Oh, yes, 100%. I think this conversation was absolutely amazing, and I didn't want to take uh like out of it just to jump into the next thing, right? Like
Yeah.
in this podcast, it's all about like in my companies and everything, it's always about going deep, right?
Hmm.
It's about really setting the foundations, becoming the expert, really knowing what you're doing, even if it sometimes takes a little bit longer, but it just sets yourself for success and for really sustainability in your business. So sometimes we just need to talk about one topic for
Yeah.
1 hour and let it be, and
Yep.
then come back and do another one. And
Sounds
also,
great.
like, yeah, definitely, I think your book is going to be so interesting. So more people will need to read this. So definitely give me a shout out when that comes out, and I'll let
Absolutely.
everyone know in the podcast that is live for
Hmm.
sure. Oh my God, Amy, this was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for being
Of
here.
course. My
I truly
pleasure.
appreciate everything that you shared with all of us. I hope everyone who listened to this really can take the very important pieces of like networking, where you get to allow yourself to believe that it's not sales, you're connecting with other people. It's about unique, authentic connections with others. And that can bring you endless possibilities that you are not aware of. And that's so important. And just always keep a check on yourself. How are you showing up? How do you want to show up? And go do the adjustments, right? And
Mhm.
definitely go check the membership from Amy, Together in Digital, because as you can see, it's highly intentional. People get connections. It's not about selling, but it's really about how you can come together in the digital space and just narrow that gap. So, Amy, if anyone wants to show you, to find you, how would be the best
Yeah.
way?
See, and I like that you asked that, right? Because everybody wants different things. My inbox is usually a hot mess. So usually I'd love to just give my email address up, but I would honestly say find me on LinkedIn, Amy P. Vaughan, Vaughan. On LinkedIn, I am, again, I'm a networking gal by trade now. So I am pretty much always on there. And I don't like to leave any messages unread. I like to make sure people feel seen and heard. So, yes, if you've listened today and you want to chat more, more than happy to. You can initiate conversation on LinkedIn.
Amazing. So you'll have the link in the show notes, so you can just go and click and connect with Amy. Thank you so much for being here today, and I
Thanks,
look forward
Lainey.
to having you again.
Yes, absolutely. It'll be my pleasure.
Wow, what a great episode. If you like our podcast, How to Run Profitable Retreats, leave us a review and share it with a friend.